What is Republican incrementalism? Republican incrementalism refers to a political strategy commonly used by the Republican Party, though it's not exclusive to them, where policy changes are implemented gradually over time rather than through sweeping, comprehensive reforms. This approach is rooted in conservative principles, favoring stability, predictability, and the minimization of unintended consequences that can arise from more radical changes. Here are some key aspects and implications of this strategy. Philosophical basis. Incrementalism aligns with a conservative worldview that values tradition, cautious governance, and skepticism towards rapid, large-scale change. It reflects a preference for evolution over revolution in policy development and implementation. Policy implementation. In practice, incrementalism involves making small, often pragmatic adjustments to existing policies rather than pursuing broad, systemic overhauls. This might include phased rollouts of new programs, step-by-step deregulation, or gradual tax reforms. Strategic advantages. One advantage of incrementalism is its political feasibility. Smaller changes are often easier to pass through legislative bodies because they are less likely to provoke strong opposition or polarized debate. This strategy can also allow policymakers to test the effects of a policy on a smaller scale and adjust it based on observed outcomes before wider implementation. Criticism and limitations. Critics argue that incrementalism can be too slow to address urgent problems effectively, such as climate change, healthcare reform, or systemic inequality. There's also a concern that it can be used strategically to delay or undermine more substantive reforms. Comparison with other approaches. Compared to more radical or progressive approaches that seek immediate and comprehensive change, incrementalism is marked by its caution and gradualism. This contrast often reflects deeper ideological divides about the role of government, the pace of change society can absorb, and the best strategies for achieving policy goals. In the context of recent political debates and policy proposals, Republican incrementalism might be observed in approaches to healthcare reform, where there might be a preference for modifying existing systems like the Affordable Care Act incrementally, rather than adopting a completely new system like Medicare for all. Similarly, in environmental policy, incremental steps towards regulation or deregulation might be favored over comprehensive new environmental legislation. This strategy has its roots in the broader conservative philosophy of Edmund Burke, who advocated for change to be evolutionary rather than revolutionary, arguing that society should rely on accumulated wisdom and gradual reform. This perspective is not just a tactical choice, but reflects a fundamental worldview about how change occurs most effectively and sustainably within a society.